So these are my 4 crucial tips for preventing your motorcycle getting stolen. I mean, full stop, but especially in cities like London, where there is a lot of bike theft. And this bike I'm on now, my Yamaha X-Max 300, has been stolen, and I got it back. And this video is aimed at people who, you know, don't have a garage, don't have access to a garage, don't have access to any kind of private property, any kind of compound or any kind of garden, anywhere that you can basically get your bike out of sight, off the road. A bike that, if you added some security, would be pretty hard to steal, because it would involve a lot of trespass, or also breaking into property or something as well, which obviously does happen. It's much less likely. So this is aimed for people basically who live in places like London and basically have to keep their bikes on the street, and also people like myself who have to keep their bike on the street, you know, away from their house as well. I can't even keep an eye on it because there is 0 parking round by where my flat is. So I'm hoping these tips can really give some advice and some help to those of you who are in a similar situation to me. Now, you know, a lot of these tips for some people might be really obvious, and I might be telling you how to suck eggs, but you'll be amazed at how many people don't always think these things through. A lot of stuff is obvious, but only once you know it in life. So you know how it is. Let's get to it. So my number 1 tip, and this is most important of my other 4 crucial tips, is you must lock your bike to something, okay? It is not enough just to have your bike covered in locks. If your bike's going to be stolen and it's simply just got locks on it, but it's not locked to anything, it will be picked up. It will be picked up, put into a back in a van, and it will be gone. Now I just want to show you, because you might be thinking, well, I don't have anything to lock it to, but look here, perfectly legal to park here, but look, this railing, you know, if you can get your chain around that, that is solid. If you can get your chain around that, that will make a hell of a difference. You know, and also, depending on how long your chain is, get it through as many of these as possible, because if they still want your bike and they come with an angle grinder, they'll probably potentially angle grind through there to get your chain off. But you can get it around that, because sometimes you see bikes chained up to a railing like this and they just put their chain through like one of them when they could easily get it through more. But the more of these you can get it through, and especially if you can get it through something solid like that, that will make such a difference, because at least then the thieves have got to come. They've got to come tooled up, and they've got to make a lot of noise, and it's going to take them the time. You know, just make it as hard for them as possible. I promise you, you'd almost be better off with a cheap chain locked to something than an expensive chain that isn't locked to anything. My number 2 tip, and the first 2 are certainly the most important 2, is get yourself the most angle grinder resistant chain you can afford. Now I'm going to link below the chain I use, and I'm going to show you it. It's in my garage. I'm going to show you it. And you can find chains on the market that are going to take a hell of a lot more of a beating than other chains. So we'll cut to my garage now, and I'll talk you through the chain I use and why I use it. I've got a few chains, but this is my main security chain. It's a pretty heavy beast of a chain. These links are 19mm thick, and I'll show you how it works. There's a few things about this chain which I think are quite awesome, but again, do your own research, and again, your budget, you might not be able to afford a chain like this. It's quite expensive. If you can make the investment, it's really worth it. So the links come together like that. So, and then that is locked. So a few things to say about this. The time it would take to angle grind through these links to get the bike loose. I mean, there's actually a video of someone on YouTube. I'll try and find it actually, maybe I'll link that video as well. angle grinding through this. It took him just over 5 minutes. Now, you might be thinking, well, 5 minutes isn't very long. 5 minutes is quite a long time out in the field if you're trying to steal a motorcycle. However, the guy in the video was using a mains powered angle grinder, and he only just managed to get this off before the disc needed to be replaced. So if you're out in the field with a battery powered portable angle grinder, I don't know how many batteries you'd need, and I don't know how many discs you'd need to change, but it would be multiple, certainly multiple discs, at least 2 discs, I'd say more. But also the guy in the video doing it, had this in a vise. He had it clamped, and he has been able to make a perfect cut. As soon as you went off to the left or right, or started hacking away at this, you'd be done for. So I do think this is pretty much, I'd be very surprised if you locked your bike up to something using this chain, it was the chain that was angle grinded off rather than whatever you'd locked it to. So this, my second tip, I think is a really valid one. Try and get the most angle grinder resistant chain you can get. Another good thing about this lock is the actual lock itself. You see a lot of people that have a really meaty chain but then a really flimsy lock. Now this is the lock here. Now, as you could say, well, surely you could angle grind through that, but obviously the clever thing about this design is that when it's locked on, that is obscured by the link. No matter where you put it, even there, you can't get to that there. It's obscured by the link. So I really recommend this chain. Again, do your own research. Maybe see if there's a deal or a discount. If you only do 2 things from my video, make sure you lock your bike to something. And make sure you have an angle grinder resistant chain like this. You won't regret it. Number 3 on my list is you must have a tracker. If you have a tracker on your motorcycle, you have a decent chance, a fighting chance, of being able to retrieve your bike if it is stolen. And I can say this from experience. My bike was stolen. I'll leave a link below to that video. But I, thanks to my tracker, was able to go get it myself, retrieve it. The police were no use. Okay? Now, crucially, I think you need to have a standalone tracker. And by a standalone tracker, I mean a tracker which is battery powered, not a tracker which needs to be powered from the battery on your bike. And the reason I say that is that I maintain, and I know others share this view, not everyone, that bike thieves, when they steal a bike, will be looking for a tracker, and they will often just go straight to your battery, because a lot of the more sophisticated trackers, and indeed a lot of trackers on the market, need to be powered from your battery, which means that the thieves have just got to go to your battery and unplug your tracker. Whereas if you have a standalone tracker, you can hide it and get really creative on the bike and where you place it. I recommend, purely because this is the tracker that I use and it worked for me, a Monimoto tracker. Now, this isn't a paid video, I'm not sponsored by them. I'm sure there is plenty of other battery powered standalone trackers you can get, so do your research, pick out the one you like. But all I know is that I used a Monimoto tracker and it worked a treat for me. It's a very simple device and it's a lot cruder in many ways than a lot of the other trackers on the market. However, for me it worked a treat, so that's what I recommend. So number 3, my third tip, is get yourself a tracker, and I personally recommend getting yourself a standalone tracker, and I promise you, you will have a fighting chance to get your bike back if it is unfortunately stolen. Okay, so my 4th and final tip is use a bike cover, a motorcycle cover. The 2 main reasons you want to use it is, number 1, it's all about making your bike seem less appealing than other bikes. Thieves often want to, choose the easiest, shortest route to stealing a bike. And if you've parked your bike somewhere where there's other bikes parked up, for example, which is going to get more attention, the bike that's covered up or the bike that's uncovered? I do think it can slightly help just by having a cover on your bike. You just make it just that slightly more difficult for the prospective thief to steal your bike. Is it much of a deterrent? I don't think so. But from my experience, and what often happens with bike thieves, is that your bike will get scouted first to be stolen. Now, the night before my motorcycle, the one I'm on now, was stolen, my cover was stolen. And I think from the CCTV footage I've got, it looks like a young guy, it's probably 16, came back to check out my bike, and I'm pretty sure it was him who stole my cover the night before and then tipped off the rest of the thieves to come steal my bike. So in that sense, having a cover acts kind of as an early warning system. Again, if your bike is scouted, they're not always going to remove the cover. They might have a look, leave the cover on, but in my case the cover was removed, and I know of other people that speak from experience that their cover was removed before the bike was stolen. So if you're somewhere like London and you come to your bike one morning and the cover's gone, I would say do not leave your bike where you left it last night, because it's been marked to be stolen. So my fourth and final tip is use a bike cover. It might just save your bacon. So there we go, everyone. Those are my 4 tips. If you can't do anything else, use these 4 tips. Lock your bikes to something. Get yourself the most angle grinder resistant chain that you can afford. Use a standalone tracker. Use a bike cover. And yes, as I said, this isn't an exhaustive list. There's lots of other things you can do. You can cover your bike in chains. You've got alarms. You've got motion detectors. You know, all those things. I hope that is of some help to people. And yeah, please do look after your bikes and be vigilant, because there's a lot of bike theft out there. Can you say I was lucky if your bike gets stolen? But I mean, I was somewhat lucky to be able to get mine back, in the sense of they hadn't damaged my bike too much, it hadn't gone too far, and I wasn't met with any resistance when I did get the bike back. Stay safe out there.